a abrupt emergency. We are wrestling.
I think there's a lot of issues with that company.
They're going all in for these documentaries.
I want to be champion. I want to be the one to carry that flag.
Hate being a wrestling fan and love being a wrestling fan sometimes, but realize we're all just selfish pricks.
It's business.
So when guys start getting released and stuff, I got questions that need to be asked.
We are Wrestling Extra.
What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, the best one, Donnie, here with...
What is going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. 1/3 of We Are Wrestling. Again, it's just me and Donnie today. Uncle Ben is out of town. Well, not really. But we're going to be doing an extra. It's late at night. Some shit has been going on since last night on SmackDown, or after SmackDown. And you already did one video on it. But immediately right after you posted that video, more shit started to come out.
Of course, as soon as I upload the video, I have some errands to do on a nice Saturday afternoon. And 20 minutes into it, more releases happen. And that is why tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Danny Huckins and myself, the best one, Donnie, are clocking in, working overtime, which by the time this comes out, it will be Sunday morning. We're going to make sure it comes out before the Super Bowl.
At night. I want extra pay for this motherfucker.
You're fucking telling me. Dude, usually I do my SmackDown reactions like in the morning time, but because of everything that happened last night after SmackDown, I had to make sure We Are Wrestling Podcast Extra was my #1 priority. So SmackDown I wasn't able to get to until later on. But, yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on today. But before we get into this extra, if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac, you're already, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And, of course, you already know, the grind is real.
Before we start, man, and because this is coming out on Sunday, and we obviously know what Sunday is, now I'm probably going to peek at the game. I'm not a big football fan by any stretch, but I feel like everybody that's watching this is going to want to know, what team are you rooting for during the Super Bowl?
I'll tell you what I bet on, because that's one of the things I did during my wonderful errands while all this crazy news was fucking happening. I bet on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that they're going to beat the Eagles. I bet $100. I think that Patrick Mahomes, they're going to three-peat.
That's not bad. How much do you think you're going to win? If depends on how many people bet. I'm not a gambler, so I don't know the inner
So
workings.
right now, with like the money line and stuff, if you did bet on the Eagles, you could win more money because they do have Kansas winning the Super Bowl. So my payout wouldn't be as much money as it would if I voted for the Eagles, which last year, because the Super Bowl was Kansas versus Philadelphia, and they actually had the Eagles winning it, I bet on the Chiefs. And I actually won, I bet $100, I won $250, because that's how much they had the Eagles. But this time around, if I do win, I believe I make a $86 profit, which isn't bad.
That's not bad, man. I'm more or less curious to know if we're gonna be getting the Kendrick Lamar Drake diss song, because every time like I've been scrolling on social media and everybody's like, "Oh my God, is he gonna perform that song?" You know, he just won a fucking Grammy for it. Yeah, so I'm more or less curious about that.
You want me to give you a hot take on Kendrick Lamar's diss track?
Sure.
I think it's dog shit.
You want to know what I think?
Yeah, I do. I want to know what you think.
I don't know, because I haven't heard it yet.
Wait, you never heard it? Like, you haven't heard, like, They Not Like Us or whatever?
I heard the intro, whatever, and I was like, oh my God, no.
Danny, only if they went back in time and saw, like, the hip-hop rap diss tracks that happened in the 90s and the 2000s, they would not. This wouldn't even be getting a fucking Grammy. But
bro, Eminem single-handedly took down Ja Rule and fucking Murder Inc. back in the day, and now we got
even
Not
Insane
Like
Clown
Us.
Posse too.
All right,
But,
let's get into this section. I just wanted to.
But I was just gonna say, we're not here to talk about Grammys. We're not here to talk about Super Bowl. We're here to talk about. Well, Danny has disappeared. Anything can happen when you're doing. We'll be right back. Oh my god, this is late night. Whew, I think I'm keeping all this in here. I'm so keeping that in there.
My wire, for whatever reason, is very touchy. So, like, if I touch my desk a certain way, it'll like unconnect my camera and it'll just shut my camera off. I don't understand. This is like the fifth wire I bought, and I have bad luck.
You know what I thought it was? Because I remember this used to happen back in the old episodes that we did, like, way back, like, before this was the podcast. I thought maybe your freaking cat, like, did something to your wire.
Nope.
Alright, so that was pretty much your fault.
Yeah, pretty much my fault.
Alright, so with that being said, guys, let's get into the We Are Wrestling Podcast Extra. And if you guys haven't checked out the video I did yesterday, by the time this comes out, I talked about the releases that happened with Cedric Alexander, Authors of Pain, Blair Davenport, and Sonya Deville. So if you guys haven't checked that out, highly recommend listening to it. But I do want to hear, real quick though, I do want to hear your thoughts on it. Yes.
Yeah, you do want to give my quick thoughts on it.
I would like to hear what you think.
Cedric Alexander, I feel like he was like one of the most shocking. He was great in 205 Live. He was great in NXT. He was even part of the Hurt business, the Hurt Syndicate or whatever back in, the pandemic era or whatever. I just feel like they really didn't have a clue on what to do with him. Especially when they took away the Cruiserweight division, they took away the Cruiserweight title, 205 Live went away. They just really didn't have much of a direction for somebody of, his talent. I mean, look at what they're doing to Apollo Crews. That dude is one of the most talented motherfuckers I've ever seen, and they just don't have a clue on what to do with him. And this is why I said, I think I talked about it on this past episode, WWE needs to bring back like a light heavyweight or cruiserweight title to give these guys some motivation, give these guys something to fight for. The Good Brothers.
Nope, Good Brothers, we're going to get into that in just a second. Because they were a part of the second mass releases that happened earlier today.
Blair Davenport. That one is... I can't really say I'm shocked by it. I feel bad for her for the simple fact that she got drafted last year after WrestleMania on one of the most boring WWE drafts I've ever seen in my life, because 90% of the superstars got drafted on the same roster that they already were on. But I remember when she got drafted, she got really emotional, and she was like one of the only ones. Like, she was legitimately like crying when she actually got called up or whatever. And I don't even think she ever made an appearance on the main roster.
It was she had like a 3-week feud, I want to say, with Naomi, and then after that she kind of disappeared.
We are going to be getting into it because you do want to talk about why NXT talent's getting called up or whatever, and
that's not the really main purpose for this extra.
We are going to be talking about it, but AOP, I feel like for a company that is struggling with the tag team division, I feel like, okay, you want to split them away from Karrion Kross, maybe have Karrion Kross go on his own or whatever. I feel like AOP could have been great. Could you imagine them feuding with the War Raiders?
You see, that's where I was a little confused with Authors of Pain, because I know they weren't really doing anything with the Final Testament, but on the Raw brand, they are making the War Raiders actually be fighting champions, which is good. Yeah. But having big guys like Authors of Pain, especially in a Vince era, that would have been such a good PLE match. That would have happened.
And Paul Ellering, I think I talked to you about this earlier or last night when this happened. I feel like they could have kept Paul Ellering, and I feel like out of anybody, he could have stayed with Karrion Kross. He could have been Karrion Kross is kind of like Paul Heyman kind of guy. He's creepy. He has a lot of history in the WWE. He managed the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. Like, I feel like he would have been able to elevate Karrion Kross in some way.
I don't know. I feel like Karrion Kross, now that like he's on television regularly, I feel like now that like he's kind of found his niche on the main roster, I feel like he doesn't really need Paul or Authors of Pain. Maybe not even Scarlett at this point. Like, I think what he's doing is just fine.
We haven't seen Scarlett in a while, and all he's been doing is like these creepy backstage, like, you know, like somebody's talking or whatever, and then he'll, you know, just show up behind him and just start talking or whatever.
But there's something I do want to say though about Scarlett though. If she's not going to do anything with Karrion, I would like to see her do something with like the women's mid-card picture, or get somebody that's not being used in catering and pair her up with them and put them in the tag division.
Yeah, but she's not really like much of an in-ring, like,
dude, if you go back and watch some of her independent stuff, dude, or her Impact Wrestling, you would say otherwise. You'd be impressed.
Yeah, but like,
she could wrestle.
I don't know her from that. Like, I only know her from her NXT and WWE days, and she's always been like somewhat of a valet. I've never seen. I don't even think I've ever seen her in a match. Maybe a intergender match with Karrion Kross, whatever. But I've never actually seen her wrestle.
You got to go down that rabbit hole, bro. You need to.
She's
had a lot of great mixed gender matches like during her time in the Indies.
All right. I mean, I'm down for it, but
what's your thoughts on Sonya Deville being released?
This is what I'm a little bit confused by, because she was just on Monday Night Raw this past Monday, even though it was like sort of like, you know, her and Shayna and Zoe were just, you know, chilling backstage or whatever. But it just, I feel like they were somewhat doing something with Pure Fusion Collective, and then they just stopped. And one thing that's really crazy is she recently did an interview, and she was, you know, talking about how proud she was to be like one of the first, you know, LGBTQ, you know, personalities in WWE, and, you know, she was like sort of like a spokesperson for you know, that group of people, and then she gets released out of nowhere, and I just. Like, do you think that had something to? I don't think it had something to do with it. But
I don't think so. I think it really comes down to like budget cuts is like what I think it is, because a lot of these superstars that I'm noticing here that are released, yes, like they have been in WWE for quite some time, but they weren't really doing anything that was like mountain pushing, like needle moving. Like with Sonya Deville, she probably is on a big contract, because I know Vince McMahon, she like had very high hopes for her. He definitely had her on TV regularly a lot. And in the Triple H era, like it just seemed like it felt like he had to use her because of the amount of money that she's getting paid.
Yeah.
Because think about it, they never really put her in like a serious feud during this new era of WWE.
Yeah,
and I think that can go with like almost all these people that are on this list.
Yeah, Isla Dawn, you know, that we're going to be talking about, like, you know, her and Alba Fire. How long do you think until Alba Fire gets the call?
Dude, I don't know. I feel
like what is she like her tag team partner? She's always been a tag team since NXT with Isla Dawn. If they were let go of Isla Dawn, I would imagine it's only a matter of time before Alba Fire gets called, because again, another person that's not being used on television.
I really don't understand it, and I know we're going to be getting into it in just a moment. But with like all these releases, like I do think, and I said this in the extra that came out yesterday, which as we're recording right now, late night, earlier this morning, I think that out of all these people that are on this list, Cedric Alexander, I do see going to AEW. I think that Blair Davenport, I think that she's possibly going to go to TNA. I think that they could use a little boost in the Knockouts division. Sonya Deville, I could see her doing some stuff with GCW, especially with like Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. I think that with her mixed martial arts background, I think she's going to do a lot.
Did she already
like
do something with Bloodsport, or was that Shayna Baszler? I know it was one of them.
Shayna Baszler did a couple GCW shows, but I think Sonya might get into that. And then AOP, who knows? Because when they left WWE the first time, they didn't really do anything in the independents or whatever.
I feel like I heard somebody, some of the other podcaster was talking about like these releases today or whatever, and they brought up the fact that AOP was like when they first got released or whatever, like the first time they were trying to set up a pro wrestling show in Saudi Arabia, and they were like, getting a lot of other independent wrestlers and other people involved or whatever to set up the show. And it just never went anywhere, and a lot of people were out of money, and apparently a lot of people were upset by them.
Hey, we're just going to have to wait and see, man, what happens with all of them. I know every single one of them have 90 days except Sonya Deville. I think they're just waiting on her contract to expire, which is later on this month, which means that she doesn't have to wait the 90 days. Because she'll immediately be able to do whatever she wants.
Yeah, she'll be good in a couple weeks. Somebody else. Oh, it was the fuck's his name? He was with Chase University. Duke Hudson. He only has 30 days because he was onto an NXT.
Yeah, usually if you're on an NXT deal, it's 30.
You want to know what's fucked up?
Yeah.
So Cedric Alexander was on the main roster, right? And then the WWE put him on NXT, and he was technically an NXT superstar, but he was wrestling under a full a main roster contract. So no matter what, he has to wait the 90 days instead of 30.
Yep, but hey, he's getting that main roster money. So
and
90
you want to
days
know what else?
isn't
You
bad.
want to know what else? I want to know, and I want to get your take on this. A lot of people are saying that maybe Cedric Alexander will go to AEW. Obviously, it's a perfect fit with the Hurt Syndicate there and Shelton and Bobby and MVP. But don't forget that there was a lot of controversy and a lot of drama between Big Swole and Tony Khan a couple years ago. And Big Swole is married.
Dude,
to
I was
Cedric
thinking
Alexander.
about that. Like when I was thinking about Cedric to AEW, I was actually thinking about that because I remember isn't he married to her?
Yep, they have a kid. So I is that gonna play any part in this whole scenario?
Nope.
I want to know your
and
thoughts.
Here's why. I don't think so. Because money talks, and especially if they do have a kid, Cedric Alexander is going to do what's best for his family, and especially right now, that's the one thing, I even said this during the extra earlier, the one thing that Tony Khan isn't fucking up right now is the Hurt Syndicate. He's doing a great job booking them. So I think Cedric Alexander is going to see that, and he does have a great working relationship with MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. So I think that it's a huge possibility that he will show up in AEW. Despite what happened with Big Swole and Tony Khan, I think that Cedric is going to go there because the money's right. I believe they're all getting paid, what? It was 10 million combined. They're splitting 10 million with their deal.
Something like that, but I don't know. That just got brought to my attention earlier today, and Big Swole was calling Tony Khan a racist and saying all
and you know this, Danny, too, about Tony Khan. He is a fucking mark, so you know what he's gonna do, right? He's gonna throw as much money as possible at Cedric Alexander to get all four of them all together.
Imagine if Big Swole and Tony Khan squared things away, and she ends up getting the phone call too.
I honestly could see Tony Khan doing that. I could see that happening.
How would you think? How would you feel? Now, this is hypothetically speaking. This is just me and Donnie just having fun. This has really very little to do with the conversation today. But what do you think about the Hurt Syndicate having a female and putting Big Swole in there?
That could work. That could be pretty.
Because they have guys, so they can compete in the guy division, the male division. Having a female, you'd be able to take out the women division too.
I don't know what it is. Whenever a big faction adds a female to it, I think it makes it better.
Big Swole versus Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir's not doing anything, and
because no, but here's what I was gonna. But wait, here's what I was gonna say though.
Her Syndicate versus Death Riders. Now you can add Marina Shafir in this. Have the Her Syndicate have Big Swole. I mean, bro,
you could. And that's the thing, I always liked, I like when there's a faction and they add a female to it. That's why I feel like D-Generation X was so popular during its time. Having the eighth wonder of the world, China, made a huge difference. Going into WWE, in this new era, the Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley became one of the biggest stars out of that group, and she's benefiting a lot, and a lot of it had to do with being a part of the Judgment Day and Dirty Dom. So honestly, like, even Marina Shafir, like, friggin', we didn't even know what the hell they were doing with her the first couple of years. John Moxley, I know he went on Renee's podcast and talked about, like, if there was anybody that he would want to work with, it would be Marina Shafir, because, like, she is a great mixed martial artist and a pro wrestler that's just not getting the right opportunity. And she's right now benefiting from it. So, like, Big Swole going to the Hurt Syndicate, man, that I think would be huge.
I feel
that
like
can make a difference.
I feel like everybody's angry about the Death Riders because they don't really have much of a direction, and there's like really nobody in AEW that's like on the same level. Like, people want fucking Darby Allin to take out Moxley. No, you need to have somebody like, you know, a Shelton or a Bobby Lashley. You know, to like adding a female to the group. The dynamic between the Hurt Syndicate and the Death Riders. It's almost like fucking the Avengers, bro. Like, I feel like that's what the whole storyline is missing. So I would definitely add Big Swole, Cedric in there. You know, because you imagine Cedric Alexander and fucking Pac.
That could be a good match.
Shelton and Claudio, Bobby and Mox. I mean, come on, bro. You can't.
I'm just saying, man, with Cedric to AEW, there's a lot of money to be made, and I think that they're going to do it because they even did it with Undisputed Era. Like, when they had the opportunity to have all four of them, they did it.
Yep.
So I definitely see Cedric getting a lot of money here, and money that him and his family are definitely not going to be able to turn down.
Absolutely.
But now let's get into some of the releases that happened this afternoon. And the first one that we're going to talk about here is Giovanni Vinci being released by WWE. What's your thoughts on that?
I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. You know, like, I thought that him and Kaiser were going to have a hell of a feud, and then Kaiser, you know, sort of drop kicked his head into the stairs and, you know, sent his bags packing, and then, you know, a couple months later, vignettes started happening, and he ended up getting put on SmackDown. And did you remember his first match against Apollo Crews?
3 seconds.
He lost in 3 seconds. Everybody was like, "Oh, let it play out. Let it play. This is gonna lead to something big. It's gonna lead to something big, brother."
Nope.
And
nope.
You know, I don't know why Kaiser and Vinci were a great tag team, in a company that is struggling with the tag division. They have two sets of tag titles. They have no tag division. They have like 4 tag teams, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know why they insist on breaking up tag teams and then fucking releasing one of the competitors. Like, it just seems like a never-ending thing. And, like, Triple H is booking and creative, okay? I will say,
I have a love-hate. I have a love-hate for his
WWE
booking.
is 90% better than it was when Vince McMahon was in creative.
I'd say more like 75.
But you still have the same tropes that Vince McMahon loved releasing people. You know what I mean? And the thing is, every month, it seems like every month or every big show they do, they always talk about, oh, you know, it's the 115th, you know, straight sellout for WWE, brother. You know, and they always talking about attendance. They always talk, you know, the fucking ticket prices for WrestleMania are $20,000 for front row. You know what
Ridiculous.
I mean? They you know, spout about, you know, how much they're making and shit like that, but yet they're continuously releasing talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you're not using them, like, I understand. Like, I've never had a problem.
But the thing is,
but here's the thing, though. Like, I've never had a problem with WWE releasing people. Like, even Vince, I never had a problem with it. But if it's
Donnie,
somebody,
but the thing is,
okay, but wait, wait, hold on. But when it's an established star like a Bray Wyatt, a Braun Strowman, that is where I have a problem, because they are regular. They're on television regularly. They are popular by the fans, and they still have creative direction, and you can definitely figure something out with them.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these names that I'm seeing, like I can't really be mad at Papa H. I can't.
I can, because I literally can think of 5 to 10 things for each individual to do. The Good Brothers, put them in the tag division. WWE is struggling right in that area. You know, the women's division, the women's tag division and singles division is not, lighting the world on fire. They have like maybe like 4 top stars. They have a world title and a women's WWE title, and they have 4 main stars that I feel like are worthy of holding either one of those titles. Not a good look. They have 2 sets of tag titles, and they have like 4 tag teams. Not a good look.
I agree.
Bring a cruiserweight title, bring a light heavyweight title. You want to bring all these different titles, bring something for these smaller guys. Apollo Crews, he's one of the most talented guys WWE has fucking signed, and
I'm surprised that this dude hasn't been cut yet.
he's not doing anything. Like it's literally insane. You know what I mean?
Won't be surprised if he gets fucking cut by the time this gets uploaded.
Apparently, from what I read, Carl Anderson is 4 to 6 months out from being cleared to compete. He's still injured. The guy got released when he was hurt. I think.
When it comes to injuries and stuff like that, yeah, no, I disagree with that.
I still feel like that's
one thing.
That's a fucked up thing to do.
Oh, with injuries, I totally disagree because, like, when sports, a lot of the times somebody's hurt, like you're not allowed to trade them unless the other team like already knows what they're going through. Because I believe you have to have like a physical done before like all the transactions for like a trade or whatever happen.
But like at the end of the day, it's their company or whatever. But like, if you're find something for these people there's a lot they can do.
Okay, but here's the thing, Danny. I got to play devil's advocate here. There's only so much television time that you have weekly.
They just made Raw. They just made SmackDown 3 hours, and it's
NXT
fucking struggling.
And SmackDown.
They don't have They don't have.
But now there's all of these free agents coming up. We still have Ray Phoenix. WWE's probably going to be adding him. Ricky Starks, once his contract's up, they're going to probably be adding him. Britt Baker, there's rumors with her and AEW having issues. They're going to want to bring her in. They're going to keep continuing to bring in a lot of these former AEW stars, which is going to pretty much lead to you only have so many spots on your roster. You can't have everybody.
Yeah, and
we saw what happened with the Invasion. We both love the Attitude Era. And look what happened. They had to pick and choose because there was only so much time and only so much roster spots you can have. And unfortunately, you have to cut some of the dead weight.
And I'm not saying anything bad about that. Definitely do what you got to do. But it just doesn't seem like they fucking tried to do much with these guys. Like
I'll give you that.
Vinci, I mean, look at the fucking vignettes, bro. The dude's, fucking like James Bond showing up in a fucking fancy ass sports car, has a fucking like a 3-piece suit on, like looking like fucking like, some kind of like 1950s mafia boss. Dude gets beaten 3 seconds. You don't see him on TV again besides one backstage segment. It just didn't. He failed before he even fucking got started. And that's why I have an issue with it.
Okay, but here's where I'm going to tag myself in because I do agree with you. And I've said this so many times on the podcast once, like, Kaiser turned on him. And I think I always say this. Don't fix something that's not fucking broken. Imperium, they should have been tag team champions for 6 months to a year. How the hell do you not give these guys a tag team title run? That blows my fucking mind. Instead, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are holding the titles, barely defending them. While you have Imperium, a great tag team with great chemistry, with Gunter, which was working, and you just completely blow it up. Vinci is out of all these people, I'm the most pissed about him because I knew immediately when they turned on him, his career was in career suicide. And I knew immediately that he was fucked.
And it's not like Ludwig Kaiser is fucking lighting the world on fire. It's not like he's in the world title picture. Like he's not doing anything.
Exactly. He's losing matches. He's friggin' putting people over. He got eliminated in the Royal Rumble literally 2 seconds.
So why I don't understand
why can't we keep him and Vince? I never understood why they broke them up.
If you were gonna break them up, and at least push them. Put Ludwig higher up on the tier. Like maybe you see him as a world champion, maybe you see him as an Intercontinental champion, US champion, whatever it is. But once they broke him up, he hasn't really done much. He had a couple matches. He had a thing with Sheamus. Got a couple matches there, whatever. Mainly got his head kicked in with the bro kick. Like he hasn't lit the world on fire in any which way, and
that's the
is
thing. Like
confusing to me.
Even like Kaiser, like being with Gunter still, like doing like his dirty work. Like Vinci could benefit from doing that too. There you go. Literally 2 weeks before PLE, the first episode of Raw, you can have whoever is feuding with Gunter go against Vinci. The next week against Kaiser, and then there you go. The PLE, you have Gunter versus whoever. There's ways around, like, the Vinci one pisses me off the most out of all these people because I knew immediately when Kaiser turned on him, career suicide, and I called it. And I knew that this was going to happen.
They, like, the way they made him look, like, with the vignettes, like, when he was showing up with that fancy sports car and the suit or whatever, I think he had, like, a Cuban cigar. Like, they made it seem like this guy was, like, the next big thing. And, well, yeah, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
I don't know either, but I will say this, like, even, like, the reaction that Vinci got coming back to Imperium on the main roster at Clash at the Castle in the UK, it was a massive reaction.
Yep.
Like, Imperium, it worked. That's why I don't understand, like, why it got broken up. Like, it was just horrible timing, didn't make sense at all, and now Vinci, because of bad booking, bad creative, he's out of a job, and that I don't like. That's why, like, out of all these people, I'm definitely pissed the most about Giovanni Vinci.
The one good thing that to come out of this whole thing, though, is the fact that he has name value. He has a recognizable face. He was in WWE, arguably with, one of the best teams, because Imperium was one of the best top tag teams in NXT, and even when they did get called up for the first time before they got released, so.
Ooh, you know what Vinci should do?
Day 91, bro, that dude's gonna be able to work and do it. He's gonna have he's gonna fucking have to change his number. There's gonna be so many people wanting to.
All right, the last thing I'm gonna say about Vinci before we move on, because we still do have a couple more people to talk about. Honestly, you know what I would do if I was Vinci?
What?
I would contact Alexander Wolf, the other original member from Imperium, and why not like start their own tag team and do their own little Imperium thing, like now that they're both like out of WWE.
I could see that.
I think that could be a really good thing for both of them. But we are gonna have to wait and see what happens with Vinci. Just like all of these superstars, like don't get the words twisted. That like I know like creatively I said like WWE like they're not really doing much with them, which is why I'm not upset about the releases. But I just don't want my words to get twisted around. Like, I still wish all of these stars nothing but the absolute best. I think that each and every one of them are very talented in their own way. Because to get to the WWE, you have to have talent. Because it's the number one sports entertainment professional wrestling company in the entire world. This is what when they're kids, this is what they dreamed of doing. Working for the WWE, and they got to do that, and I don't want my words twisted because there is only so many spots to have the best of the best, and they made it. And I think that the road is not over for any of them, and I hope that they go out to TNA, Independence, AEW, New Japan, and prove to WWE that they fucked up.
I feel like the only one I would want in AEW is Cedric, just because like everybody else just doesn't seem like they'll have much of a direction. But at least if Cedric is there, he'll be able to be with Bobby and them, the original Hurt Syndicate or whatever.
I said that during the extra earlier.
I don't want a lot of people to go to AEW because it just doesn't seem like Tony Khan has much of a direction for these people. I mean, he has guys like fucking Wardlow and Miro that aren't even on TV. You know what I mean? Like he has his own issues. He doesn't need to sign any more talent that is just not. He's gonna end up paying just to sit home. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I feel like TNA would be a good place. TNA, they'd be able to get the reps in. They'd be able to wrestle in front of a crowd. But also, TNA has that partnership with NXT, so they would still be able to, they'd still be able to be involved and possibly get a second look. But it's all about reinventing yourself, trying to get your name out there, trying to improve on things that you need to improve on. You know what I mean? There's a lot of possibilities. New Japan, I would say, I'm pretty sure besides WrestleMania, majority of people in pro wrestling would love to wrestle a Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. It's still a lot of people's
besides
dreams. I
WrestleMania,
know.
that's like one of the biggest shows
Baron
on the planet.
Corbin said it on Chris Van Vliet's podcast. Like, he would love to work like the Tokyo Dome and do
I
some
love his
stuff
new
in New
name,
Japan.
Bishop Dyer. His new name is dope.
I like it. But moving on now to our next WWE release star, we have Ayla Dawn.
Isla Dawn.
I knew I was gonna fuck that up. Isla Dawn. All right, I'll let you start this one off.
I can't say I'm shocked, but the fact that I do feel like Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, like, they had a great look. The
presentation was flawless. It was great.
Yeah. I always felt like maybe if they were put in like put in some kind of like faction, whatever, like they had like, I tend to gravitate.
We were supposed to get a little faction because they were supposed to be paired up with Blair Davenport until something happened.
I don't know if you're the same way or whatever. Everybody gravitates towards different kind of characters. Like, I like more of the dark, gothic, hard rock. Like, I like Rhea Ripley. I like Malachi. I like the dark imagery and like the darker characters or whatever. Maybe it's just because I'm a hard rock and metal fan. Whatever.
Yep, and I like the cocky assholes.
That characteristic, like, I love that kind of like the fire.
And Casual Cam likes fucking Santino Marella and R-Truth.
Yeah, no, he likes Santina Marella. But I felt like if they were booked properly, they would have been a fucking issue in the women's tag team division.
Yeah, dude. They kind of threw that, and that's the thing that's so unfortunate. Like,
they were fantastic in NXT
into the fire like right away with no direction, which I know that's what we're gonna get into at the end of this extra. Is about like the people being called up without a direction. I know Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. They're also another like homegrown tag team that
they were
like,
on
isn't
SmackDown
really doing
last night.
anything
Are they
either.
going to be getting traded? Who knows?
Probably, but
it's only a matter of time before they get the call.
That's the thing I just don't. That's the thing I just don't really understand either. Like with the tag titles, but now that I think we have like the Intercontinental United States, I won't be surprised if maybe they try to like move the tag titles slowly over to like NXT maybe, and they kind of like have them disappear on the main roster because like releasing like Dawn and like not Fire, like it just doesn't make sense at all to me.
Exactly, like
unless Dawn was like upset with like the creative direction and she was vocal about it, and maybe WWE didn't like that. That's always a possibility too, because sometimes like the outspoken people are the ones that get punished.
Yeah, but I mean, Triple H doesn't necessarily seem like if you disagree with him on a creative direction for your character, Triple H doesn't take like, I don't take that as like he'd be the one to fire. Like, that seems more like a Vince McMahon kind of move, to where like,
I will
you
say
cross
Dawn,
the box, you get your ass fired.
I will say with Dawn, day 91. She's going to have no problem. I think that she is going to show WWE that they fucked up. And I could definitely see her maybe going to the TNA knockouts and give them a boost. Because I don't know, like out of the two, out of Dawn and Fire, I always thought Dawn was better.
I could see Isla Dawn and Rosemary doing something.
There's plenty of things that she can do. I think that she has a look. She's very talented. And I think that she is going to have no problem here. And I think she is going to prove to WWE that they fucked up. And honestly, like out of all the people that have been released over the weekend, I think that she is one of them that's going to really shine bright.
That's why, like, regardless, nobody should be like too bothered by this whole scenario, but whatever, because like once your face is on WWE television and you're like, you have that recognition, like, it's not like you're just like a nobody that's just beginning pro wrestling and you have to like work your ass off to get bookings. Like, once you're in WWE and you're in that system, no matter if you're released or not, like that gives you name recognition that like everybody's gonna be, come see former WWE superstar so and so. Like everybody's gonna want her on their shows. Everybody's gonna be booking her for signings. Everybody's gonna want her at conventions. Everybody's gonna be wanting her for meet and greets and pro wrestling seminars. And like There's so like that's why like I'm upset, but I'm not like outraged like most people because like these guys haven't made now like they could potentially make more money after the 90 days than they were making in WWE because
But I'm
they
going
were
to
like,
add
hey,
one more thing
I
to
was in
that.
WWE.
I'm going to add one
I
more thing to
want this
that
much.
because you're hitting the nail on the head here. But if in order, because all these WWE stars that do get released by the company, they all have that opportunity, like you said. But now they need to go out, they need to reinvent themselves like the Matt Cardonas, the Cody Rhodes, and the Drew McIntyres, and go out there and put in the fucking work. Because if you don't put in the work and you do just live off your WWE name, yes, you're going to still get your bookings, you're still going to be hot for maybe a little while, but eventually you're going to get cold. And then you're going to have nobody at your meet and greet table like James Ellsworth.
Perfect example. Indy Hartwell. She has her own clothing brand that she sells. She has her own clothing website. She's selling her own brand. She Chelsea Green put her in a texting group with Downstate, who makes Cody Rhodes' song, Matt Cardona's song. They did a brand new song for her. She's doing bookings. She was just at WrestleCon in Indianapolis. Like, watch her vlogs, bro. Like, she's fucking out there grinding.
And that's what you got to do to succeed.
That's what you
I just wanted to add that part, the grinding part, because yes, they do have it made, but like you do got to go out and you really do have to reinvent yourself in order to keep your name relevant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But they have a head start above anybody else.
But now let's get into the last releases here. As of right now, as we're recording this on a late Saturday night, almost midnight, the Good Brothers have been released by WWE. What's your thoughts on this?
This one I'm kind of bummed out about because when they came back and they reformed the club with AJ Styles and Mia Yim, like I was so hyped about it. I thought it was a cool. I liked the direction that they were going, and then it just slowly over time, they started to take AJ Styles away, and then they started to take Mia Yim away, and then Carl Anderson got hurt, and because of that, Luke Gallows wasn't on television. It was just like one thing after the other. And like the Good Brothers, like they have a phenomenal look. Like they're two beefed up guys. They would have fucking run rampant in the tag team division. You could have fucking did something with Luke Gallows and CM Punk. Luke Gallows was CM Punk's henchman in, the fucking what's that group that he had? Yeah, Straight Edge Society. Like there's a lot that you could have did.
Wow, dude. Why didn't Drew McIntyre ever use Luke Gallows in that feud with CM Punk? They could have done something there.
Like there's a lot that they could have done, but they, for whatever reason, just didn't do it. And they just...
See, I feel like that's something like Vince McMahon definitely would have done. 1,000%. He would have found a way to use Luke Gallows in that McIntyre and Punk feud and probably like feed into the whole Straight Edge Society thing a little bit to kind of like get things going. Like there's like pros and cons to like Vince and Triple H's booking. Obviously, nobody's a perfect booker. Everybody has their preference, like superstars, who they're going to book. I'm going to say this, and this might shock a lot of people. You guys might think I'm delusional. You guys might think I'm crazy. But I feel like this might be the first time that two superstars should have picked AEW over WWE. And the reason I say that is because the Good Brothers, they are great friends with the Young Bucks. They have that relationship. They have that chemistry. And during the Impact Wrestling and AEW crossover, the Good Brothers, they were being booked very well in AEW. They had some great stints with the Elite. And I think like they could have benefited being at AEW because I feel like it fits their style more. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people know them from what they've done in WWE, but if you go back, and I'm sure, like, I wish Ricky was here to explain this because I know he misses them as in Bullet Club in Japan. They are, like, WWE will never get that Good Brothers in WWE because it's just not their style. AEW, on the other hand, that's the closest thing to a New Japan style, which is why I think the Good Brothers, like, it would just work better. And I think for once, I could say it because a lot of the times people are better off in WWE than AEW due to the bad booking. But I think Good Brothers, they would have benefited staying in AEW than signing with WWE because they just wasted, 3 years?
Something like that. It's just I can't like it rattles my brain like why you have these guys sign and like there's nothing greater that you can do with them when you have a struggling
it
tag
blows
team
my
division
mind too. And then you even have Tamatanga, Tangaloa. Like, you have all these old Bullet Club members just signing left and right with WWE. How are you not doing anything?
How are you not reforming
you could have
the
put Luke
Bullet Club?
Gallows. Man, when Damian Priest left, you could have put Luke Gallows in the fucking Judgment Day. You could have put them in the Judgment Day because of their relationship with Finn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that kind of blows my mind.
Finn could have broke away from Judgment Day, and you could have had Luke Gallows as like sort of like the bodyguard of Finn Balor, and like really like ramped up his heel status.
But
like,
dude,
really.
him and Carl Anderson, they could have went to the Judgment Day. That's how JD McDonough got into the group because of his relationship with Finn Balor. That was his mentor.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, and what I said earlier. It's frustrating why a lot of these people were released because there's a lot of things like just me and you sitting here. Like, we're already thinking about ways how they could have been used. But yet people that are actually paid to be in charge of creative to book this stuff, they don't have a fucking clue. Like,
And you know why? And I'm going to tell you this. You know why they don't have a clue, Danny?
why?
Because they're not a fan of professional wrestling. That's the problem here. Us wrestling podcasters, not just We Are Wrestling, but all of them out there that are podcasters. The thing is, like, these older wrestling guys that are now doing podcasts want to say, oh, we're fucking marks, this and that. But at least we know what, like, we're thinking because we are the fans. And at the end of the day, we're the ones that are paying for the tickets. We're the ones that are spending our money on merchandise or thousands of action figures like myself. Like, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are continuing to build this empire that is called WWE or an AEW or a TNA or a New Japan or even hell, the independent circuit. We're the ones that are going there spending $10 a ticket. So, like, man, that's the problem. In that in creative, when it comes to all of these companies, they don't have a fan in there. I'm not saying you need to have like all friggin' fans in there because then yeah, you're going to make a circus. You're going to make a friggin' joke out of the professional wrestling business. But having like a couple fans in there that are like you can understand where we're coming from could make a huge impact.
I feel like WWE should have a thing set up, and like maybe TNA, AW, whoever. I feel like they should have a thing set up to where, you know, certain depending on if you have like a certain leverage in like the podcasting community, like you had a certain amount of subs or whatever. I feel like they should have like a thing to where like maybe they seek advice from like not just anybody, but like people that are like me and you, like JD from New York, like Ango, Salamas, like good mic work commentaries, like a lot of the bigger podcasts or whatever. You know what I mean? Because a lot of us have really, really solid ideas, and it's not far-fetched to really accomplish a lot of it.
And that's the thing, like, maybe not a WWE because, like, they're, like, at the very top, even though they could always use, like, advice, but, like, I'm surprised, like, companies like NWA or, like, MLW don't really, like, do that. Like, they don't listen to, like, wrestling podcasters because maybe some of us could have good ideas for creative for their companies that could maybe make a couple extra bucks for them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, at the end of the day, like, with the Good Brothers, I think that they're very talented. And I think one of them or both of them are hanging up the boots pretty soon. Like, I read something about. But we are going to have to wait and see there. I think that they will probably show up in AEW because it only makes sense, especially now with, like, Death Riders. Especially with the Death Riders being one of the biggest storylines. I think when the Young Bucks, the Elite, come back, they could use Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows to have the numbers to go against them. Because I
The Young
think,
Bucks.
and I think that the Death Riders, I think like they are going to add somebody to the group, and I think this might blow your mind. What I'm going to tell you, maybe you're thinking the same thing. Who knows? I think Eddie Kingston's going to join them
I could see it.
because
Eddie
of the
Kingston is
relationship with
very,
Mox,
very, very good friends with Mox.
and it would be a
they're
perfect
like
position for
brothers.
him too to come back in AEW.
Yeah, and like the Young Bucks aren't on. They're gone for right now. They're the IWGP Tag Team Champions. Last I knew, they won those tag team titles at Wrestle Dynasty or Wrestle Kingdom back in January.
Yep.
So like who knows when they're gonna be coming back? But I feel like the last time we saw them, Death Riders pretty much chased them out of the arena. I mean,
So imagine having two
maybe
big
they don't
guys
come
like
back until the
Anderson
90
and
days is
Gallows.
up, and maybe they come back with a couple of friends. You never know.
Couple good brothers. But now, like, to end things off here with this extra, that's the thing I do want to ask you about, is because there seems like there's a pattern going on here with some of these WWE releases since the Triple H era. Seems like some of these stars, they either go back to NXT or they're already in NXT, and then WWE decides during the WWE draft or the trade portal, whatever it is, that it's time, like they want to bring them up to either Raw or SmackDown. And then they have no creative direction whatsoever, and then that leads to career suicide and talented men and women being out of a job due to bad creative. So what do you think about that? Do you think that they need to stop calling up people so soon without a creative direction?
I do, because like Indy Hartwell, I don't necessarily know if she's a great comparison or whatever, but she was the NXT women's champion, and then 2 weeks later she dropped the title or whatever because she just get called up. But I mean, she didn't exactly blow the roof off, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown like when she got called up or whatever. But yeah, she was just a women's champion on NXT. Like you need to stop calling up these people without a creative direction, because that's just career suicide for them. Like they do phenomenal work in NXT, NXT champion, multiple time tag team champion, just selling out every arena that NXT's in, PLE or not. But yeah, once they go to the main roster, they get lost in the dust, and you don't really hear from them. I just don't feel like it's a good look, because it's just gonna make NXT talent be like, bro, like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. Like, I'm killing it here. I'm gonna get called up, and you're not gonna use me and release me. Like,
It does make the developmental system look horrible.
And it's gonna make NXT talent not want to get the call, and that should be like your main goal. You should want to get called up, but like, why are you gonna call me up if you're not gonna use me? Like, I'm over here killing
for the
it.
longest time, Danny, Johnny Wrestling and Tommaso Ciampa, they refused to get called up to the main roster because they loved what they were doing in Black and Gold NXT.
Yeah, exactly.
And that shouldn't be the case, because everybody's dream is to go to a WrestleMania and be the WWE champion and main event it. And you can't do that when you're in NXT. NXT is supposed to be a developmental program, which now it's starting to become a third brand. So I think like these new series that are coming out to WWE, like Evolve and Legends, Future and Greats, I think that's where we're going to start getting more like people that are not ready for television, but to get that experience, that's what they're going to start doing. But it does make the NXT system look horrible when you're bringing up people without direction. Like Baron Corbin even was talking about it a lot on the Chris Van Vliet podcast, which, man, one of my favorite interviews of all time.
Bro, Chris
grew so much respect for Baron Corbin in that interview. But yeah, like even with Corbin, like he like lost direction on the main roster, so they sent him to NXT, started doing the burn the ships, and he was in great matches, and he was starting to really get over, and then they just have him go to SmackDown, and then he loses direction.
Him and Braun Breaker, when he got demoted, I guess you could say, because when you're on the main roster, you're doing stuff for so many years or whatever, then you get the call to be like, oh, you're going back to NXT. Kind of is a demotion in a lot of ways. But when he got demoted back to NXT this last time, bro, him and Breaker were killing it.
They
Like,
were, but like
they should have kept that
Breaker,
up for a little bit on the main roster.
I don't think so. I like with Corbin, he's so talented that like he doesn't have to be in a tag team. Same with Braun Breaker. Yes, it worked in NXT. That was a fun thing that they did. But on the main roster, I didn't want that to transition over there because I wanted Breaker to get built like the next big thing.
Yep.
And with Baron Corbin, I just wanted him to bounce back and maybe possibly win like a United States or Intercontinental Championship because I felt like he deserved that with all the years he sacrificed, especially with shitty booking.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, man, like this NXT system, it does make it look horrible. I'm not happy with it, like when somebody does get called up because it's not under their control. Like, I love that Triple H, like, I have a love-hate for Triple H's creative, and a lot of the things I hate about it is that there's so many people, so many WWE fans, because of how shitty Vince McMahon's booking was during his final years, they think Triple H is a god, and I think that that's far from the truth. I think that Triple H has his cons, just like Tony Khan, just like Billy Corgan, all of these bookers. They all have their cons. But yes, with Triple H, it's a lot better than what Vince was doing the last couple of years. That I'm not going to discredit, but when you're setting yes, Vince didn't give creative to his talent, which I thought was a horrible idea because we're seeing it work with Triple H. But now the problem is, just like back in the day with Vince's WWE, they didn't have control over creative. Well, now they don't have control over the way that they're being booked because something's working in NXT. You think that they would go to the main roster and it would work because don't fix something that's not broken. But in this case, they're getting called up and they're basically stuck. Like, that's why I say, like, with Vince and Triple H, like, everybody likes to say, oh, Triple H is better than Vince, but it's like, I would say, like, 25% Vince, 75 Triple H.
Triple H is a lot better than Vince, though, because when Vince was booking, like, you know, Vince was the same way. Like, he had a certain amount of guys that he would push, and, like...
But one thing about Vince McMahon is, on NXT, any call-ups that he ever did, FCW, OVW, whatever it was, Vince McMahon had a direction for that superstar. Even if it was only a 3-week push, he had a plan, a strategy. Triple H is just calling up these random people at random times to get a fucking reaction. Because he knew calling up Blair Davenport, who wasn't ready yet, they had no plans for her, they knew that they were going to get her crying and it would make the draft look like it's legitimate.
Did you hear the news before we came on here that I sent you?
What happened?
Roxanne Perez is officially on Monday Night Raw as of tonight, and she's going to be in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match on Monday.
I did hear something about that.
I mean,
which I'm happy for, like, because that's the thing with Roxanne. They have a direction, they have a plan.
There's no reason why she shouldn't kill it. And I feel like Triple H thinks really highly on her, bro, because she came in Royal Rumble number 3rd, and she got eliminated by Charlotte for Charlotte to win. Like,
yep.
But
also too, her trainer, Booker T, he works in WWE, and I'm sure, like, he's not gonna fucking let, like, what happened to, like, a Blair Davenport happen to his girl, Roxanne, because I think she was one of the first, graduates at his Reality of Wrestling.
Yeah. But I mean, do you really honestly think he would care all that much? Because I mean, if she gets released, he'd be able to use her a lot more at Reality of Wrestling. It would be able to sell more tickets.
Yeah, but with Booker T, I think Booker T would care because, like, he knows how talented she is. Booker T is the type of person where, like, he wants what's best for his students. That's why, like, he made amends with Zilla Fatu. Like, because I know that there was issues there between both of them for a little while, but Booker T, like, at the end of the day, he cares about his students and he wants what's best for them, and I think that goes to, like, most trainers that are former WWE superstars. I can definitely say that for Brian Myers at Creative Pro. At the end of the day, he wants what's best for them. Like, yeah, it would be cool to have them, like, show up at one of their independent shows and stuff, but at the end of the day, like, it's all about making money in this business. Yeah. And they want what's best for them. They want to be able to provide a roof over their head, be able to have food on the table, and just live a happy, successful life.
Exactly.
And that's the American dream. But
It's the American dream. man.
anything else, Danny, before we close off this extra?
Nah, man. I don't know what it is, but whenever me and you just get on here, we just talk forever. This was originally supposed to be like 25, 30 minutes, and now we're going on an hour. And my wife is probably gonna kill me.
It's okay. My wife's probably going to kill me, too. I'm working overtime tonight.
Hey, man, gotta get that money somehow. I appreciate you guys watching this episode. Subscribe to my channel. I'll be live Monday night for Monday Night Raw. It's going to be a fun episode, I have a feeling. And we are on the road to the Elimination Chamber. And then right after that, man, we are on the road to WrestleMania. It's I love this time of year, man. Like, there's so much going on, especially if you're a wrestling fan. It's wild.
Absolutely. But guys, let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on all the releases that happened. I already know what's going to happen by the time that this is uploaded on Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to get more releases, but that better not be the case. I want a day off.
We're saving that. If that happens, we're saving it for Wednesday.
We're saving it for Wednesday because we do need some topics for Wednesday, which, guys, we will be live Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the podcast. We're going to be doing it all year long. But if you guys enjoyed this extra, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac already, and you're listening to this wherever you get your podcasts, give us a 5-star review, not just any review, a best one review, and download the episode. But if you're not a Maniac already over on the YouTube channel, recommend you guys to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Danny and I over on our social medias and other YouTube pages. All of that down below. And, of course, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, we are taking over, and we'll see you guys live Wednesday for another episode of the We Are Wrestling Podcast. Take it easy, guys.
We are Wrestling Extra.